And so the story of the USS Cyclops comes to a close, not with an answer but with a lingering question mark that has haunted maritime history for over a century. We've journeyed back to 1918, tracing its final voyage from the coast of Brazil into the heart of the Bermuda Triangle, carrying over 10,000 tons of manganese ore and 306 souls. We've explored the leading theories, from the catastrophic structural failure of a top-heavy ship to the sudden violence of a rogue wave swallowing it whole. We even touched upon the wartime speculation of enemy action, though no evidence ever surfaced. Despite extensive searches and the passage of time, not a single piece of wreckage, not one life raft, not even a trace of oil has ever been found. It's a stark reminder of the immense power and vastness of our oceans. The sea is a master of keeping secrets, and the final moments of the Cyclops and its crew remain one of its most profound mysteries. It's the largest non-combat loss of life in U.S. naval history, a ghost ship that sailed into the unknown and never returned. But is the story truly over? As technology advances, our ability to probe the deepest, most remote corners of the ocean floor improves every year. Autonomous underwater vehicles and advanced sonar mapping are unlocking secrets that have been hidden for generations. Perhaps one day, a future expedition sweeping the dark abyss will stumble upon the silent, resting giant. Maybe then the final chapter in the Cyclops' tale will finally be written, bringing closure to the families and an answer to a mystery that has endured for a lifetime. Until that day, it remains a powerful legend of the sea, a testament to the forces of nature and the enduring mysteries that still lie beneath the waves. Thanks for watching, and if you're fascinated by the unexplained, make sure to subscribe for more journeys into the unknown. In March of 1918, during the final year of World War I, a massive United States Navy cargo ship vanished without a trace. The ship was called the USS Cyclops. It was one of the largest ships in the U.S. Navy at the time, stretching more than 500 feet in length and capable of carrying enormous loads of cargo across the Atlantic Ocean. On board were 309 men. None of them would ever be seen again. To this day, the disappearance of the USS Cyclops remains the single largest loss of life in the history of the United States Navy that did not involve combat. What happened to the ship has never been fully explained. The story begins in early 1918. At the time, the United States had recently entered World War I, and naval supply ships were constantly moving materials across the oceans. The USS Cyclops was part of this effort. The ship had been tasked with transporting manganese ore, a material used in the production of steel. This cargo was extremely heavy. In fact, records show that the Cyclops was carrying more than 10,000 tons of manganese ore when it left the port of Rio de Janeiro in Brazil. That amount of cargo placed enormous stress on the ship's structure. But the Cyclops was considered a strong vessel, built to handle large loads. After leaving Brazil, the ship sailed north toward the Caribbean. Its next stop was the island of Barbados. Everything about the voyage seemed routine. There were no distress signals, no reports of mechanical failure, no warnings of trouble. But when the ship departed Barbados on March 4, 1918, something strange happened. It simply disappeared. The USS Cyclops never arrived at its destination in Baltimore. No wreckage was ever found. No distress calls were ever received. The ship and all 309 men on board vanished somewhere in the Atlantic Ocean. The U.S. Navy launched a massive investigation. Ships searched thousands of square miles of ocean. Radio stations monitored for signals, but nothing was ever discovered. The ocean had swallowed the Cyclops completely. Over the years, investigators proposed many different explanations. One possibility was structural failure. The Cyclops had been carrying an extremely heavy load of manganese ore. If the cargo had shifted during rough seas, it might have destabilized the ship. The vessel could have capsized quickly, sinking before the crew had time to send a distress signal. Another theory involved mechanical problems. Some reports suggested that one of the ship's engines had been malfunctioning before the voyage. If the engine failed completely, the ship might have struggled to navigate rough waters. But there were other, more mysterious theories as well. The disappearance of the Cyclops occurred within a region that would later become famous as the Bermuda Triangle. This region of the Atlantic Ocean has long been associated with stories of ships and aircraft disappearing under strange circumstances. Some researchers suggested that unusual magnetic anomalies in the area could interfere with navigation instruments. Others believed powerful storms or underwater currents could have played a role. More extreme theories suggested that something even stranger might have happened. Over the decades, writers and researchers proposed ideas ranging from secret enemy attacks to paranormal forces. One theory suggested the ship might have been sunk by a German submarine during World War I. However, German naval records from the war contain no mention of an attack on the Cyclops. Another theory suggested sabotage. The captain of the Cyclops, Lieutenant Commander George Worley, was known to have a complicated reputation. Some crew members reportedly disliked him and believed he behaved strangely, but no evidence of sabotage was ever discovered. In fact, one of the most puzzling aspects of the disappearance is the complete lack of evidence. Normally, when ships sink, some debris floats to the surface. Pieces of wood, cargo, life rafts. But in the case of the USS Cyclops, nothing was ever found. The ship seemed to vanish completely. Some historians believe the answer may lie in the design of the vessel itself. The Cyclops was a massive cargo ship, but its long, narrow design may have made it vulnerable to structural stress. If the heavy manganese cargo shifted suddenly, it could have caused the ship to list dangerously to one side. Once the ship began to tilt, the enormous weight of the cargo could have made recovery impossible. In such a situation, the vessel could have capsized in a matter of minutes. If that happened far from shipping lanes, no other vessels might have been close enough to witness the disaster. Yet even this explanation leaves questions. If the ship sank suddenly, why was no debris ever discovered? Ocean currents in that region can carry floating objects across enormous distances. But despite extensive searches over the decades, no confirmed wreckage has ever been linked to the Cyclops. Another possibility involves weather. Although there were no reports of severe storms at the time the ship disappeared, weather conditions in the Atlantic can change rapidly. A sudden storm could have overwhelmed the vessel. Large waves might have flooded the cargo holds, destabilizing the ship. However, even powerful storms rarely erase all evidence of a shipwreck. This is one reason the disappearance continues to fascinate researchers. Over time, the mystery of the USS Cyclops became closely connected to the legend of the Bermuda Triangle. Stories about the triangle began gaining popularity in the mid-20th century. Writers pointed to the disappearance of the Cyclops as one of the earliest and most dramatic examples of unexplained events in the region. According to these stories, ships and aircraft passing through the Bermuda Triangle sometimes encounter strange phenomena. Compasses malfunction, electronic equipment fails, weather conditions change unexpectedly. Some reports even describe strange lights or unusual clouds. However, most scientists believe the Bermuda Triangle does not contain any supernatural forces. The region is heavily traveled by ships and aircraft, and accidents that occur there are usually explained by natural causes. Navigation errors, mechanical failures, severe weather. All of these factors have caused accidents in oceans around the world. Yet the story of the Cyclops remains unusual. More than a century has passed since the ship disappeared. Still, no confirmed wreckage has ever been discovered. The ocean floor in that region is extremely deep and difficult to explore. Some areas contain underwater trenches thousands of meters below the surface. If the Cyclops sank in one of these areas, its remains might still lie hidden far below. Modern technology has improved our ability to explore the ocean floor. Advanced sonar systems and underwater drones have helped locate many lost ships. But the ocean is vast, and large portions of the seafloor remain unexplored. It is possible that one day the wreck of the USS Cyclops will finally be discovered. If that happens, it might provide answers to a mystery that has lasted more than 100 years. Until then, the disappearance of the Cyclops remains one of the greatest maritime mysteries in history. A massive ship, 309 men, and not a single trace left behind. Somewhere beneath the Atlantic Ocean, the final resting place of the USS Cyclops may still exist, silent, hidden, waiting to be discovered.